Hey, have you ever met someone online who seemed one way, and then when you met them in person, you thought, wait, who is this? Or maybe you felt the pressure to look, sound, or post like someone else just to keep up and just to be in the know or to look like you're in the same industry, just to kind of look like somebody else. I've been there too, but here's the truth: copying might get you attention, but authenticity builds trust. In today's episode, Unfiltered and Unforgettable, how authenticity turns you from lookalike to trailblazer, we're talking about what it really means to be authentic, how to stop blending in, and how to confidently step into your role as a trailblazer in your business when we return. Hey, mompreneurs, and welcome back to another episode of the Making of a Mompreneur Show. I am your host, Rashida Green, founder and CEO of Get Coaching, the host of this wonderful Mompreneur HQ community, and the creator of the Digimompreneur Academy, where we help moms who are determined to find time, money, and location freedom to start, grow, and scale online businesses so that they can build the life of their dreams without neglecting themselves or their families in the process. Now, we do this through a number of ways, but particularly through coaching, content, community, and through the Digimompreneur Academy. If you are joining us live, make sure you put hashtag live in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. So it will look like hashtag live New Jersey, live New York, live Miami, whichever one. Make sure you drop it in the comments below. How about this? If you're watching the replay, we still love you. Go ahead and put hashtag replay and let us know where you're watching from so that we can know the reach that the Mompreneur HQ community has and that we can get excited about it and all that good stuff. Because I'm going to tell you, we are excited to have you here with us today. And so, if you tune in for our celebrity sightings lookalike episode, we had fun talking about lookalikes. I talked about me being a lookalike for Brandy, Lauren Hill, and even Oprah. But we talked about how data and AI can help you mirror what works in your industry for your business. And then in No More Imposters, we tackled the fear of being seen. Well, today, we're taking it a step further, right? Because once you stop hiding, the next challenge is showing up as yourself and not the filtered and flawless version, but the real, unpolished, purpose driven you. So, if you haven't already, make sure that you have your pen, paper, or digital device so that you can go ahead and take down some of these nuggets that we got for you. Guess what? You can also put hashtag nuggets and tell us what you learned, what stood out for you, what was an idea or suggestion that we shared that really impacted you or resonated with you. You can put that in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you haven't already, listen, you can like, comment, subscribe, share, do all of the above. I'm sure you have a business bestie who could benefit from the information that we're sharing today on being unfiltered and unforgettable. That's right. Our conversation on authenticity today would be something that you can share with your besties to help them to overcome imposter syndrome in business and show up as themselves. We're talking about authenticity. Yes, what it really means, why it matters, and how it can how it can shift your business from imitation to innovation. So let's go ahead and get started with what authenticity really means. Let's start here because authenticity has really become one of those buzzwords that gets tossed around a lot in the business world. Oh, authenticity. Oh, your authentic self. This has really become a buzzword that has truth and meaning to it. So it's still a loaded word, still impactful, and still really what you need in business. But when people use it as a buzzword, it gets played out. And so it's almost like nobody wants to hear that anymore. But truthfully, you need to show up as yourself. People say be authentic, but what does that actually mean? So, authenticity is when your words your actions and your values align. So those three things: words, actions, and values align. It's when who you are online matches who you are offline. Remember in the introduction, I mentioned how you may have bumped into somebody that you met online that you didn't know before, and then you meet them in person. You're like, that's the same person. Because all that glitz, glamour, and Lamborghini you was posting, it don't match. So authenticity is when your honesty, your integrity, and your passion are visible and not staged. We don't want to come off as staged. It's not about oversharing or being unprofessional, right? We don't need to overshare. You don't have to tell people all your business. It's not a requirement for being authentic. Okay. Authentic can even be something as far as the details and everything that you're sharing would be something in your that you would reserve for people who know you best. And ps.com, I just realized I had this shirt on. You can't see it, but it says, it's so cute though. It says, I definitely don't have all my ducks in a row. And it's literally ducks just all over the place on my shirt. I don't know if you can see that, but it's literally ducks all over the place on my shirt. So they're not in a row. And that's authentically me. I don't have all my ducks in a row. I am not the most organized, though I try my best to be, and others would say I am, because when it comes to certain things, that I'm very organized in those things. But then the rest of my life, the backdrop of my life, some of those things are just disorganized. But that's not like I'm putting on a front. It's just that in different spaces, I'm different. I can be different things, almost chameleon, but still showing up as me. That's just how it goes. And we'll talk about that more as we share about authenticity and what's too far, what's too far, and what's authentic about you being you, but still how you show up in different rooms. So we'll talk about that a little further. But really, it's not about oversharing or being unprofessional. It's about showing up with sincerity. You don't have to sound like everyone else. You don't have to look like everyone else. You don't have to do the same things that everyone in your industry does. You just need to show up. It doesn't have to be something that's so scripted and always what everybody else is doing. And you don't even have to use all the trendy jargon if that's really not how you speak. That's not your voice. You just have to be real. And again, some people say be real. I don't know if you want me to be real, because when I'm real, it doesn't mean nasty, it doesn't mean rude, it doesn't mean coming off standoffish. Let's reel it back. Go back, reel it back. We want to say that because people buy from people they know, like, and trust, and the fastest way to build that trust is to be consistent in who you are, wherever you are, however you show up. That is what people are looking at. Now, let me tell you, I have purchased some things from people I know nothing about. Why? Because they have a solution to a problem that I have, right? So if I have a problem where I don't know how to stitch this pillowcase that just exploded in the washing machine the other day, I have all this cotton all over the place in the washing machine and on my clothes that it was washed with. So I don't know how to stitch it closed. I could simply just put a whole bunch of safety pins on it and stuff all the stuffing back in, but I want to maybe just stitch it up, a simple stitch. Maybe someone who is teaching this 15-minute simple stitch for $5. I don't necessarily need to know who this person is if it's a simple stitch and it's only $5, right? So I might just go ahead and buy that quick tutorial, just without the know and trust factor, only because I'm thinking it's only $5. It's only a simple stitch. How can you mess up a simple stitch in a 15-minute video for $5? There are times when people don't need to know and trust you, that KLT. But again, if they're coming with a solution, that solves all the problems, right? So we just want to make sure that when we're showing up, that we're showing up as our authentic self. And because people, they don't generally just buy stuff to be buying stuff. That you have, even in your own community, think about it. Do you have people that's like waiting in the wings? People have been in your community for months, weeks, years even, and who haven't purchased anything yet, but who've commented or who've said something. because they're watching you. They're trying to get to know you. They're trying to see how you establish your business and have you waiting for those testimonials before they say, oh, I'm going to jump in. Those people, they might be watchers, lurkers, or just space takers. But, at the end, they may just make a decision based on a response that you give or showing up as yourself somewhere online and just being truthful. Hey, today was not a great day. Man, I spent all this money to produce these books and nobody's buying them, or whatever the case may be. They might be waiting for that real moment before they engage with your products and services. So we'll talk about it later on. We need to be consistent in how we show up, and that helps with that KLT. Next, we're talking about authenticity versus too real. I told you it was coming, right? Now let's talk about it. What authenticity isn't, honey. Authenticity doesn't mean blurting out everything that's on your mind. Literally, the first thing that comes to your mind, whether good, bad, or indifferent, you're just going to blurt it out, or ignoring professional context. It's not about saying that's just who I am, accept it, or love me or leave me alone, while ignoring your audience's expectations. Let's use an example. Picture a used car salesman. You probably already have an image of somebody who you worked with in the past, or the traditional car salesman imagery from TV back in the day, or in your head, right? You already thought about it. Now, that overly smooth slash pushy type who smiles in your face but rolls his eyes when you walk away, you wouldn't trust him, right? Now picture a different type of salesperson, someone who's honest, knowledgeable, answers your questions, and genuinely wants to help you find the right car. That person who is telling you all the pros and the cons, telling you how you can save additional money, even suggesting to you that, hey, I know this is my company and this is who I represent, but honestly, if you have your own insurance, that might be an option for you. Those type of people, even if you don't buy that day, guess what? You will walk out with a depreciation or even a respect for that individual, for respecting the fact that you don't want to buy a car today, right? Versus someone who's pushing and always trying to make you buy something. That to me is not authenticity. And that's the difference between performing authenticity and embodying it. True authenticity is considerate. It's confident but respectful. It's showing your real self, the real, just in the right setting. So let's go into what that might look like. If you're going to work, if you're in a situation, or you're going to a wedding, let's say that. Say you're going to a wedding. Your favorite color is red, and you really don't care too much for formal gatherings. So you're just going to come in with this red mini skirt and white bralette with a fishnet shirt over it. That's you. That's how you like to dress. That's cool when you're not going to somebody's wedding with formal, semi-formal, dressed appropriately type of it. I can't even say, because sometimes they change. They have themes for their weddings. People have themes for their weddings and things like that. So it just depends. Now, if somebody had said to you that the occasion was an all black affair, black formal, and you came in with this red mini skirt and your fishnet blouse over your bralette, right? That is you being real, but not in that set. It's not appropriate for that setting. So that's what I mean by there are still boundaries and things that we want to make sure, or settings in which being real may not necessarily mean that you're being fake by putting on the all black. That means you're being appropriate and respectful to the rules of the newlyweds and their invitation to the wedding. Okay, so that's another difference I'd like to indicate here. All right, so now let's talk about moving from lookalike to trailblazer. When you're starting out, it's natural to model what works. And in fact, we encouraged it. If you go back a couple of episodes, we encourage lookalike activity. Find what works, emulate that for your business, and see if it works, how it works. And then once you see that it does work, then you just make other content similar to that. And we encourage that. But again, we don't want you to get stuck in looking like. We want you to become a trailblazer. We want you to make moves of your own. And you might look at successful coaches or entrepreneurs and mirror their strategies, and that's okay because that's how we learn. But the problem comes when we get stuck there, when we stop experimenting, trying things out, when we stop using our own voice and literally mimicking, oh, she curves her eyes or whatever. I don't know or she when she speaks, she puts a southern twang on it. So I'm gonna start speaking the way she's speaking. No, we want to make sure that we are not getting stuck in the lookalike phase. And sometimes we start doubting that our way could even work. So we think that the way somebody else is doing it is always going to be better. And then that we don't want to do that. We want to get out of the lookalike phase after we find out what works and we get it to where we want it to be in our business. Then we need to get off of the bandwagon and start implementing the things that are authentic to us, those things that work for us, those things are in our voice, in our mannerisms, and show up authentically. Trailblazers don't play follow the leader forever. You may be able to pick up something from someone else or mirror someone else, but you don't stay there. In order to be a trailblazer, you have to then pave your own way. Trailblazers take what they've learned, add their personality, their flavor, their purpose, and their perspective, and create something brand new. For me, that's what the Digimompreneur brand is about. It's rooted in structure and strategy, right? Because I have these business structures, I have playbooks that help you to be able to build your business in different aspects. So if you wanted to start a podcast, we have podcast training. If you wanted to start an Etsy shop, we have an Etsy shop training. If you wanted to start your own YouTube channel, we have YouTube training. If you wanted to create AI, create your own chat GPT or learn how to use chat GPT rather, then we have that training inside the Digimompreneur. But guess what? It's infused with motherhood, humor, and faith. Why? Because that's who I am. That's what makes me me. And that's what makes my brand feel alive and feel authentic to me because I mix all of those things because that's who I am. So I want you to think what makes your business unmistakably you? What part of your story, your style, or your values can you bring forward more boldly? Because we're getting out of look-alike and we're becoming trailblazers. Now, as you think about what you can bring forward more boldly, let's talk about the power of consistency and connection. Authenticity and consistency, they go hand in hand. Okay. If your Instagram feels warm and friendly, but your email sounds stiff and corporate, it sends mixed signals, right? So people who signed up from your Instagram maybe joined your email list and they're getting all these corporate LinkedIn sounding emails. They're going to be like, which version is the real version? Is it the fun part that I saw on Instagram? Or is it the corporate part? And sometimes if they have to guess, they'll just unsubscribe. Okay. But when your tone, your visuals, and your energy align, it builds trust faster than any marketing hack that could ever, marketing act, any marketing hack could ever do. So, authenticity, just showing up who you are, being consistent about it, and making sure that everything aligns is also what turns your followers into fans and your fans into buyers. Because people, again, they want to connect. That's why we have Facebook, and you have all these thousands of Facebook friends who aren't really your friends or who were your friends back in high school who you haven't seen, talked to in real life, or engaged with since high school. like 20, 30 years later. Right? But they're still your Facebook friends because they want to have that kind of connection. And who knows, they want to snoop on you and figure out what you're doing with your life since they left you, because they figured once y'all broke up that you was supposed to be like nobody because you're not with them. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. I don't even know how I got there. But anyway, we're talking about Facebook and connection. Okay, but really, they want your clients, your audience, they want to be seen, understood, and valued, not sold to. And that's what there's two ideologies behind that as well, right? There's the group that says, hey, if they signed up to be on your email list, then they signed up to be sold to. Why? Because you are a business owner, you sell things. And so you're selling things to the people on your email list. So they are being signed up to be sold to. And then the other side of the coin is they are getting that know and trust aspect. They want to get to know you better, and that's why they signed up. Or because not everybody gets on your email list from a purchase. They may get on email list from a campaign that you've done, whether to join your Facebook group or to join your email list. And so they may have joined the email list, but are turned off by constant emails trying to sell them something. So there's two sides to the coin. You just have to find that middle ground, because there are some people that say if they didn't sign up to get sold to, then they might as well unsubscribe because they're not making me no money. It depends on what it is that you're going for with your email list in your business. But I want you to ask yourself, does my online persona match the person that people meet in real life, IRL, right? If not, then what needs to change? What do I need to do to align myself to the image that I've put out into the world? Think about it. All right, as we move forward with faith, freedom, and authentic impact. That's what we're naming this segment of today's show on Filtered and Unforgettable: how authenticity turns you from lookalike to trailblazer. And here's where faith comes in. The reason authenticity matters so much is because God didn't create duplicates. Do you know there's only one you? Even if you're a twin, a triplet, a quadruplet, a sextuplet, it is still only one of you. He created each and every one of us as an original. And Psalms 139:14 says, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Yes, I am. And so, if you are fearfully and wonderfully made and you are an original, never duplicated, then you can show up authentically as you. When you stop trying to look like everyone else, you make room for the version of you that God actually designed to lead, teach, and serve people. Authenticity is freedom. Freedom from comparison, freedom from perfectionism. And don't we need freedom from perfectionism? Because that gets us stuck so many times. But also freedom from performance. That's right. We're not going to be just putting on to be putting on, or showing up just to be showing up. We're going to come as ourselves, as our authentic selves. And when you walk in that truth, guess what? You stop asking, am I good enough? You don't have to keep asking yourself that question. When you show up in your truth, in your authenticity, in your acknowledgement that God made an original and you're never going to be duplicated. People are out there in the world waiting for exactly what you have to offer. So it's not a question of, am I good enough or am I enough? You need to start declaring, I am chosen for this. I am chosen for this. This is my assignment. This is my purpose. And that's when your business begins to feel aligned and your brand starts to resonate in a deeper way. People will connect to you in a deeper way, because not only are you showing up as your true self, as you would online and in real life, but you're showing up with commitment, purpose. And when you have purpose, you know your why. That is such a motivating factor that drives and pushes you to do even more, or to at least complete the thing that you said you was going to do. Because sometimes we get stuck and we like, oh, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to put this down. But if you know you have a purpose and a calling for something, You go maybe kicking and screaming, but you go forward. And that's how you become unfiltered and unforgettable. All right, now let's make this a practical. So we've talked about all of this, and hopefully you have some hashtag nuggets in this here comments. But I want you to audit your presence. Look at your website, your social media, and how about even checking out your bio that you haven't looked at since forever? Does it sound like you or someone else? I literally had to think to myself, ooh, ooh, that's me. Not because I didn't think it was me, but because sometimes I push all of my accomplishments, or I treat all of my accomplishments as just some regular old random task that I completed. When sometimes I have to be reminded that, hey, that's a big deal. Recently, I just reread a comment from a young woman. My husband had promoted, I had shared that I got promoted in my firm and how proud he was. And I was like, how are you going to put my information out there? I even tell nobody I got no promotion. How are you going to tell everybody? And the young lady said, congratulations, and I'm proud of you. And I said just that. Thank you. I didn't even know my husband was posting this. I didn't think it was a big deal. And she said, yeah, it's a big deal. You shouldn't think anything less of it, but a big deal. Sometimes we have to be reminded. And so that's what I thought about when I mentioned the bio, that, yeah, sometimes I get shocked myself at some of the accomplishments, but we need to be accepting of those things that we've accomplished and think about how it impacts the way we represent and how we show up in the world. What I also want you to do is to infuse your personality, right? Once you do your self audit, authenticity audit, add a personal story, give it a line of humor, or add some of your faith into those that content. Whatever makes your brand feel alive, more like you, go ahead and add that. And then I want you to also stay grounded. Before you post or pitch, ask, does this represent the real me? And if it doesn't, pause and adjust. Make the change. Remember, being authentic isn't about being perfect, because none of us are. Then we just talk about how the Lord made us originals, but we are not perfect. It's about being consistent and true to ourselves, true to our audience, and true to our business. So as we wrap this up, you don't need to be the next version of anyone. You need to be the best version of you. Trailblazers aren't created by imitation, they're forged through authenticity. And when you show up as your real, unapologetic self, your people, guess what? They're going to find you. So those people who don't find you, or those people who unsubscribe, or those people who don't unfollow you, it's because you're not their people. And if that's the case, then they're not your people. So you want your people to find you, to trust you, and to buy from you, because they can feel the truth behind your brand. If this episode spoke to you, then I'd love for you to go ahead and share it with a fellow mompreneur who's ready to ditch the filters and find her voice. And if you're ready to learn how to turn that authenticity into strategy, then come on, join us inside of the Digimompreneur Academy, where we help moms turn their purpose into profitable, peace-filled businesses. All right, I want you to keep showing up, keep shining, and remember, being yourself isn't just powerful, it's profitable. Until next time.